Lisa Carter adjusted the straps on her backpack one more time. The weight felt familiar and comfortable on her shoulders. Inside the pack, carefully organized in special compartments, was her complete medical kit. Bandages, medicine, surgical, tools, and emergency supplies filled every pocket. She had spent weeks making sure everything was perfect. The other human cadets around her were checking their weapons. Plasma rifles, energy grenades, combat knives, and ammunition filled their bags. They looked like proper soldiers ready for war. Lisa looked different with her medical supplies taking up half the space where extra weapons should go. Jake Morrison, her squad leader, noticed her backpack and frowned. He was tall and strong, with the kind of confidence that came from being the best shooter in their class. Jake had won every combat exercise they had done so far. Everyone expected him to graduate at the top of their group. "Carter, what's all that junk in your pack?" Jake asked loudly enough for other cadets to hear. "We're going into combat training, not playing doctor." Several other humans looked over at Lisa's gear. Sam Brooks, who carried 2 extra rifles, shook his head. "She's got more medical stuff than ammunition. How's she going to fight with all that dead weight?" Pete Williams laughed as he counted his grenades. "Maybe she thinks she can heal the enemy to death." Amy Foster, the only other woman in their squad, looked uncomfortable with the teasing but didn't say anything. She had learned to stay quiet when the men started making jokes about being soft or weak. Lisa ignored the comments and continued her equipment check. She had heard it all before during their months of training. The instructors taught them that successful soldiers were killers first and everything else second. Most cadets believed that philosophy completely. The training facility around them was massive. Built to hold cadets from dozens of different alien species, it looked more like a small city than a school. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Defense Alliance, and they were trying hard to prove they belonged. Commander Zethkar walked into the preparation room. The alien instructor was tall and thin, with skin that looked like living crystal. His body changed colors when he experienced different emotions, and right now he appeared calm and focused. "Attention, cadets," the commander said in his strange musical voice. "Today's exercise will test everything you have learned. You will face Krillian shock troops in a realistic combat scenario." The room became very quiet. Every cadet knew about Krillians. They were insect-like aliens with hard-shell armor and razor-sharp claws. They moved fast, hit hard, and never retreated from battle. Fighting them was considered the ultimate test for any soldier. "The Krillians you will face are combat androids programmed with real battle tactics," Zethkar continued. "They will try to kill you just like real enemies would. Medical stations are positioned throughout the training area if anyone gets seriously hurt." Jake raised his hand. "Sir, what are our mission objectives?" "Eliminate all hostile forces and secure the facility," the commander answered. "You will be graded on speed, efficiency, and tactical coordination. Failure means repeating this course." Lisa listened carefully to every word. She knew this test would determine her future in the military, but she also knew something the others didn't understand. She had studied Krillian culture and biology during her free time. Most soldiers learned how to kill aliens. Lisa had learned how they lived, what they feared, and what they valued. The preparation room had weapons lockers along every wall. Jake and the others loaded up with extra ammunition and heavier guns. Lisa took only a standard rifle and made sure her medical kit was secure. "Last chance to trade that nurse bag for something useful," Jake said with a grin. "Once we're in there, you'll wish you had more firepower." "I have what I need," Lisa replied quietly. She had learned not to argue with Jake in front of the group. It only made him tease her more. Sam Brooks looked at her medical supplies again. "What if we run into trouble and need you to fight instead of playing doctor?" "Then I'll fight," Lisa said. "But someone needs to be ready to help people who get hurt." "The medical stations will handle injuries," Pete Williams pointed out. "That's what they're for." Lisa had seen the medical stations during their tour of the facility. They were basic emergency units designed to stop bleeding and stabilize patients. They couldn't handle serious trauma or complex injuries. If someone got badly hurt far from a station, they could die before getting help. Amy Foster finally spoke up. Maybe having someone with medical training isn't such a bad idea. Jake rolled his eyes. We're soldiers, not medics. Our job is to eliminate threats, not patch up people who can't avoid getting shot. Commander Zethkar activated a wall display showing the training facility layout. It looked like a small military base with multiple buildings, corridors, and defensive positions. Red dots marked where Krillian forces were positioned. You have 30 minutes to study the layout and plan your approach, the commander announced. Remember, the enemy will not show mercy. Do not expect any from them. Lisa studied the map carefully. She noticed that several Krillian positions were in areas that would be difficult to evacuate if someone got wounded. The medical stations were spread out, but there were gaps in coverage where injured soldiers might be trapped. Jake was already planning their attack route with the other men. They focused on which positions to hit first and how to concentrate their firepower for maximum damage. Lisa listened to their strategy while thinking about different possibilities. The buzzer sounded, indicating preparation time was over. All the cadets moved toward the entrance to the training facility. Lisa felt the weight of her medical kit and wondered if Jake was right. Maybe she was carrying dead weight into battle. But as they approached the combat zone, Lisa remembered something her father had taught her years ago. He had been a combat medic in Earth's military before humans joined the Galactic Alliance. Sometimes, he had said, the most important battles are won by saving lives, not taking them. The doors opened, and the squad moved forward into their final test. The training facility was dark and filled with smoke. Emergency lights cast red shadows on the walls, making everything look dangerous and threatening. Lisa followed Jake and the others through the first corridor, listening carefully for any sounds of movement. The Krillian combat androids were programmed to act exactly like real alien warriors. They moved in groups, coordinated their attacks, and used advanced tactics. The Academy had spent millions of credits making these training exercises as realistic as possible. Jake held up his hand, signaling the squad to stop. Through the smoke ahead, they could see movement. Dark shapes scuttled across the ceiling and walls with spider-like quickness. The Krillians had found them first. "Contact front!" Jake shouted as plasma bolts began flying through the air. Two android warriors were terrifying to see in action. They had 6 legs each, allowing them to run on walls and ceilings as easily as floors. Their bodies were covered in thick black armor that looked like insect shells. Sharp claws extended from their arms, and their faces had multiple eyes and snapping jaws. Sam Brooks opened fire with his heavy rifle, sending bright energy beams toward the ceiling where several Krillians were moving. The androids scattered, quickly, avoiding most of his shots. One got hit and fell to the floor, but 2 more dropped down behind the human squad. "Behind us," Amy Foster yelled as she spun around to face the new threat. Pete Williams threw a grenade at the ceiling Krillians, but they moved away before it exploded. The blast brought down chunks of metal and concrete, creating more obstacles and hiding places for both sides. Lisa crouched behind a piece of broken wall and tried to assess the situation. The Krillians were faster and more agile than expected. They used 3-dimensional tactics that humans weren't prepared for. Jake's plan to advance straight through the facility wasn't working. A plasma bolt hit Jake in the chest, sending him crashing into the wall. His armor absorbed most of the impact, but Lisa could see that he was badly injured. Burns covered his torso, and he was having trouble breathing. "Jake's down!" Sam shouted as he continued firing at moving targets. More Krillians appeared from side passages. They had been waiting in ambush positions, letting the humans walk into a trap. Now the squad was surrounded and taking heavy casualties. Amy got hit in the leg and went down hard. Pete took a glancing shot to his shoulder that spun him around. Sam was the only one still standing and fighting effectively, but he was running, low on ammunition. Lisa looked at her wounded squad mates and made a quick decision. She could stay behind cover and shoot at enemies, or she could help the people who needed immediate medical attention. Jake was the worst injured, but he wasn't the only one in trouble. She crawled over to Jake while plasma bolts flew overhead. His breathing was shallow and rapid. The burns on his chest were serious enough to be life-threatening if not treated quickly. The nearest medical station was 3 rooms away through active combat zones. "Hang on," Lisa told Jake as she opened her medical kit. "I'm going to get you stabilized." Jake tried to speak but only managed a weak cough. Lisa worked quickly, applying burn treatment gel and injecting pain medication. She wrapped his chest with special bandages designed to protect damaged tissue while allowing movement. While she worked on Jake, Lisa kept looking around the battlefield. The Krillians seemed to be holding back now, not pressing their attack as aggressively as before. She wondered if they were regrouping for a final assault or waiting for the humans to make a mistake. Sam was down to his last energy pack when Lisa finished with Jake. Amy was trying to crawl toward better cover, leaving a trail of blood from her leg wound. Pete was holding his shoulder and couldn't lift his rifle properly. Lisa moved to Amy next. The leg wound was deep, but not immediately dangerous. She cleaned it and applied compression bandages to stop the bleeding. Amy would be able to walk with support, though not fight effectively. "Thanks," Amy whispered as Lisa helped her into a sitting position against the wall. Pete's shoulder injury was painful but not serious. Lisa gave him a local anesthetic injection and a support brace that would let him use his arm again. Within minutes, he was able to hold his weapon and return to the fight. But while Lisa was treating her squad mates, she noticed something interesting about the Krillian androids. They had stopped attacking and were watching her work. Their programming included detailed behavioral patterns based on real alien psychology and culture. The closest Krillian android was about 20 feet away, partially hidden behind a pillar. Lisa could see that it had damage to its left leg assembly from Sam's earlier shots. Fluid was leaking from hydraulic systems and its movement was becoming erratic. Lisa made a decision that surprised everyone, including herself. She stood up slowly, keeping her hands visible, and walked toward the damaged Krillian. Her rifle was slung across her back and her medical kit was open in her hands. "What are you doing?" Sam shouted, momentarily stopping his suppressive fire. Jake, feeling better after Lisa's treatment, tried to sit up. "Carter, get back here." But Lisa continued walking toward the enemy android. The Krillian's multiple eyes tracked her movement, and its weapons remained aimed in her direction, but it didn't fire. When she was close enough to touch the damaged android, Lisa knelt down and examined its injured leg. The hydraulic fluid was the android equivalent of blood, and the damage was causing the machine to slowly shut down. "Your leg is badly damaged," Lisa said to the android in basic galactic language. "Without repair, you will cease functioning." The Krillian android's head tilted slightly, processing this unexpected interaction. Its programming included advanced artificial intelligence designed to make realistic decisions based on battlefield conditions. This situation was completely outside its normal parameters. Lisa opened her medical kit and pulled out repair gel designed for mechanical systems. Most combat medics carried supplies for both biological and artificial injuries, since many species used cybernetic implants. She began sealing the hydraulic leaks and stabilizing the damaged components. The android watched her work without moving or speaking. Behind her, the human squad members stared in amazement as their medic calmly repaired an enemy robot that had been trying to kill them moments before. The other Krillian androids had also stopped fighting. They were observing this unprecedented behavior and calculating appropriate responses. Their collective artificial intelligence was struggling to categorize Lisa's actions within their tactical programming. The damaged Krillian android sat perfectly still while Lisa worked on its leg. Her hands moved with practiced skill, sealing hydraulic leaks and replacing damaged components. She'd studied mechanical repair alongside medical training, knowing that many soldiers in the Galactic Alliance used artificial body parts. The other Krillians remained frozen in their positions around the room. Their advanced programming was trying to process what they were seeing. Enemy humans were supposed to destroy them, not repair them. This behavior didn't match any tactical scenario in their databases. Jake Morrison watched from his position against the wall, still recovering from his injuries. "Lisa, what the hell are you thinking? That thing was shooting at us." "It was following its programming," Lisa replied without looking up from her work. "But programs can be changed by new information." Sam Brooks kept his rifle ready but held his fire. The Krillians weren't attacking anymore, but he didn't trust the situation. New information? It's a combat android. It's designed to kill us. It's designed to complete missions, Lisa corrected him. Maybe we can show it that killing us isn't necessary to complete this mission. The android Lisa was working on spoke, for the first time. Its voice was mechanical but clear. Explanation required. Why do you repair enemy systems? Lisa finished sealing the last hydraulic leak and looked up at the android's multiple eyes. Because you're not really my enemy. You're following orders just like I am. But orders can change when circumstances change. Amy Foster, her leg wound now properly treated, struggled to understand what was happening. Lisa, these things are programmed to eliminate us. Fixing one won't change that. But Lisa had noticed something important about the Krillian androids. During her time at the academy, their artificial intelligence was designed to learn and adapt based on new experiences. They weren't just following simple programming. They were making decisions based on what they observed. The android she had repaired stood up and tested its leg. The repair work was holding, and it could move normally again. It looked down at Lisa, who was still kneeling beside it with her medical kit open. Combat effectiveness restored through enemy assistance, the android stated, apparently talking to itself as much as to the humans. Logical contradiction detected in mission parameters. The other Krillians began communicating with each other in high-frequency electronic signals. Their artificial minds were sharing information and trying to resolve the conflict between their orders and their observations. Pete Williams, his shoulder now working properly thanks to Lisa's treatment, kept his weapon ready, but didn't aim it at any specific target. They're talking to each other. What do you think they're saying? Probably trying to figure out why someone they're supposed to kill just saved one of them, Lisa replied. She stood up slowly, keeping her movements calm and non-threatening. The repaired android took a step closer to Lisa. Query: what is your tactical objective in repairing enemy systems? Lisa thought carefully before answering. These androids were intelligent enough to understand complex concepts, but they thought in terms of military tactics and objectives. She needed to explain her actions in language they could process. My objective is to complete the mission with minimal casualties on both sides, she said. Destroying you serves no purpose if we can achieve our goals through cooperation instead of conflict. Jake tried to get to his feet, still weak from his injuries. Lisa, this is insane. We're supposed to eliminate all hostile forces. That's the mission. The mission is to secure the facility, Lisa corrected him. It doesn't specify that we have to destroy anyone to do it. The Krillian android processing this information for several seconds. Its head tilted back and forth as internal systems worked through the implications. Finally, it reached a conclusion. Hypothesis: cooperation may achieve mission objectives more efficiently than combat, the android announced. Testing cooperation. Protocol. The android turned to face its companions and began transmitting rapid electronic signals. The other Krillians responded with their own communications, creating a complex discussion that the humans could only partially follow. Sam Brooks was getting nervous about the situation. They could be planning something. Maybe this is all a trick. Lisa shook her head. Combat androids don't use deception tactics. They're programmed for direct action. If they wanted to attack us, they would have done it already. Amy Foster managed to stand up with support from the wall. Her injured leg was painful but functional. So what happens now? Do we just stand around talking to robots? Before Lisa could answer, another group of Krillian androids entered the room from a side passage. These ones hadn't witnessed the repair scene and were still operating under standard combat protocols. They immediately targeted the human squad and prepared to attack. The original group of Krillians, led by the one Lisa had repaired, moved to intercept the new arrivals. Electronic signals flew back and forth between the two groups as they shared information about recent developments. Conflict detected between android units, Pete observed. The ones we met first are protecting us from the new ones. The situation became even more complex as additional Krillian units appeared from different directions. Some had been briefed by the original group and approached peacefully. Others maintained hostile programming and prepared for combat. Lisa realized that her repair of the first android had created a chain reaction throughout the Krillian network. The androids were updating their tactical assessments based on new data about human behavior. Some units were adapting quickly while others remained locked in combat mode. The room filled with the sounds of electronic communication as dozens of artificial minds debated the appropriate response to unprecedented circumstances. The humans found themselves in the middle of an android civil war that they had accidentally started. Jake finally managed to stand up, his injuries stabilized by Lisa's medical treatment. "We need to get out of here before they decide to shoot us anyway." But Lisa was studying the android behaviors with fascination. "No, this is important. They're learning from what happened. If we can show them that cooperation works better than fighting, they might change their entire approach." The repaired android approached Lisa again. "Additional units require demonstration of cooperation benefits. Will you provide medical assistance to damaged systems in other units?" Lisa looked around the room at the various android groups. Several units showed signs of damage from previous training exercises. Their hydraulic systems were leaking, armor plating was cracked, and some had malfunctioning sensors. "If they agree to peaceful cooperation, yes," Lisa replied. "But they have to stop targeting my squad first." The android transmitted this information to the other units. More electronic discussions followed as the artificial minds processed this conditional offer of assistance. The electronic discussions between the Krillian androids grew more intense as different groups shared their data and experiences. Lisa watched the artificial minds struggle with concepts their original programming had never considered. The idea of cooperation with enemy forces was causing system-wide conflicts in their decision-making processes. Jake Morrison leaned against the wall, still recovering from his injuries, but alert enough to track the developing situation. "This is getting out of control. We should retreat to the medical station and call for backup." "There's no backup in training exercises," Lisa reminded him. "We either complete the mission or fail the test." Sam Brooks kept his rifle ready while watching the android group sort themselves into two camps. Some units had accepted the cooperation protocol, while others remained in combat mode. The peaceful androids were trying to convince their hostile counterparts through rapid data exchanges. "How do we know which ones we can trust?" Sam asked. "They all look the same to me." Lisa studied the android formations carefully. The ones following cooperation protocols had subtle differences in their posture and positioning. They kept their weapons lowered and maintained greater distances from the humans to appear less threatening. "The cooperative units are showing non-aggressive body language," she explained. "They're adapting their behavior to put us at ease." Amy Foster tested her injured leg by taking a few careful steps. Lisa's medical treatment had been effective, and she could move without severe pain. But what about the ones that are still hostile? The answer came quickly as one of the combat mode androids broke away from the group discussions and charged toward the humans. Its weapons were powered up and targeting systems were locked onto Jake's position. The repaired android Lisa had treated moved to intercept the attacker. The two machines collided in the middle of the room, their metal bodies clanging together. As they grappled for position, other cooperative androids joined the fight, trying to restrain their hostile counterpart. "They're fighting each other over us," Pete Williams observed with amazement. "The ones you helped are protecting us from the others." Lisa realized this was a critical moment. The android civil war could escalate and destroy any chance of peaceful resolution, or she could use it as an opportunity to demonstrate the benefits of her approach. She walked toward the struggling androids, ignoring Jake's shouts for her to stay back. The hostile unit was damaged during the fight, with hydraulic fluid leaking from multiple points where the cooperative androids had restrained it. "Stop fighting," Lisa called out loudly enough for all the androids to hear. "Let me help the damaged unit." The cooperative androids released their hostile counterpart, but remained ready to intervene if necessary. The damaged android lay on the AOC floor, its systems failing due to hydraulic loss and impact damage. Lisa knelt beside the hostile android and began examining its injuries. The unit's optical sensors tracked her movements, but its weapon systems were offline due to power loss. It couldn't attack her even if its programming demanded it. "Your hydraulic systems are failing," Lisa told the android as she opened her medical kit. "Without repair, you will shut down permanently." The android's voice was weak and distorted due to power fluctuations. "Enemy assistance, not computed in tactical parameters." "Then maybe it's time to update your parameters," Lisa replied as she began sealing hydraulic leaks and replacing damaged components. Jake watched this scene with growing understanding of Lisa's strategy. "You're not just fixing them, you're changing how they think. Every time I help instead of hurt, they have to reconsider their assumptions about humans," Lisa explained while working. "Combat programming assumes enemies always act like enemies. But if we don't act like enemies, their programming has to adapt." The hostile android system stabilized as Lisa completed her repairs. Its optical sensors regained full function, and its voice became clear again. It sat up slowly and looked around at the mixed group of humans and cooperative androids. "Tactical assessment requires updating," the android announced. "Enemy behavior does not match predicted patterns." The repaired android that Lisa had helped first approached its former hostile counterpart. Electronic signals passed between them as they shared data about their experiences with human cooperation. Within minutes, the formerly hostile android had joined the cooperation protocol group. It stood up and faced Lisa with what appeared to be respect in its mechanical posture. "Gratitude registered for system restoration," it said. "Previous combat directives suspended pending tactical reassessment." More Krillian androids entered the room from various passages throughout the facility. Word of the cooperation experiment was spreading through their network, and units were arriving to observe the unprecedented situation. Lisa found herself surrounded by dozens of android warriors, all studying her with their multiple optical sensors. Some showed signs of damage from previous training exercises or system malfunctions. They were waiting to see if she would help them, as she had helped the others. "This is incredible," Amy Foster said quietly. "You've turned them from enemies into patients." Lisa looked around at all the damaged androids and calculated how much of her medical supplies she had left. Treating this many units would exhaust her entire kit, leaving nothing for human casualties if something went wrong. But she also realized this was the key to completing their mission without further violence. If she could convert all the hostile androids to cooperation protocols, the human squad could secure the facility without firing another shot. Jake seemed to understand her thinking. "Do it. Help all of them. We'll complete the mission your way." Lisa nodded and began moving from android to android, assessing damage and prioritizing treatments. Some units had minor hydraulic leaks that could be sealed quickly. Others had more serious problems that required component replacement or system rebuilds. Sam Brooks and Pete Williams helped by carrying supplies and holding damaged android limbs in position while Lisa worked. Amy Foster, despite her injured leg, organized the androids into treatment groups based on the severity of their damage. The scene transformed from a battlefield into a medical facility as humans and androids worked together toward a common goal. The cooperative androids assisted with repairs on their more severely damaged counterparts, learning basic maintenance techniques from Lisa's demonstrations. As each hostile android was repaired and converted to cooperation protocols, the facility became more secure. The androids began working with the humans to complete the original mission objectives, but through collaboration instead of conquest. Commander Zethkar watched from the observation booth with growing amazement. In decades of training exercises, no cadet had ever achieved mission success through medical assistance instead of military force. The tactical computers were struggling to categorize this approach within their assessment algorithms. Lisa finished, treating the last damaged android as her medical supplies ran out completely. Her kit was empty, but every artificial warrior in the facility was now operating under cooperation protocols. The mission was complete without a single casualty on either side. The loud alarm that marked the end of combat training stopped ringing. Lisa Carter stood in the middle of the training room, breathing hard. Around her, human soldiers and android warriors who had been trying to kill each other just minutes ago now stood together. The scene looked impossible to anyone watching. Commander Zethkar looked down from his control booth. His crystal-like body changed colors rapidly as he tried to understand what had just happened. In all his years of training cadets, he had never seen anything like this. The computer screens showed results that made no sense. 0 human deaths. Enemy forces converted to allies. Mission completed through healing instead of killing. The Krillian androids stood in organized formations around the room. Their optical sensors remained focused on Lisa, the human who had changed their basic programming through simple acts of repair and kindness. The first android she had helped stepped forward with movements that seemed almost respectful. Jake Morrison walked toward Lisa slowly. His plasma burns were completely healed now and he could move without pain. But his mind was still trying to process what his squad member had done. He had made fun of her for carrying medical supplies into battle. Now those same supplies had won them a fight without anyone dying. I still don't get it, Jake said, shaking his head. How did you know they would stop fighting if you helped them? Lisa picked up her empty medkit from the floor where she had set it down. The same kit Jake had called useless was now the reason. They were all still alive. She looked at her squad leader with calm eyes. I didn't know they would stop, Lisa answered honestly. But I knew something else. Every intelligent system wants to survive and complete its mission. I thought maybe, if I showed them we could help with their mission instead of preventing it, they might see us differently. Sam Brooks, whose wounds Lisa had treated during the fight, flexed his arm to test the healing. The android weapons had caused serious damage, but now he could move normally. But they were programmed to eliminate us. How did fixing them change? That? Lisa looked around the room at the mixed group of humans and androids. Programming can be updated when new information proves the old programming was wrong. I gave them new information about human behavior. The Krillian androids began communicating through electronic signals. Their leader, the first unit Lisa had repaired, moved closer to her. It raised one of its metal arms, but not in a threatening way. The gesture looked almost like a salute. Pete Williams had been quiet since the fighting stopped. Now he spoke up. The way they're positioned around you, it's like they're protecting you instead of threatening you. Amy Foster nodded in agreement. In all our training, they taught us that force was the best way to control enemies. But cooperation works better, doesn't it? From his observation booth, Commander Zethkar spoke into his communication device. All department heads report to Briefing Room 7 immediately. We need to discuss what just happened here. Major Groktar, a large alien with thick gray skin, was already reviewing the battle data. Commander, the tactical computers are having trouble processing this outcome. The healing approach wasn't in any of our combat programs. That's exactly the problem, Zethkar replied. We've been training fighters to destroy efficiently. We never considered training them to convert conflicts into cooperation. Down in the training room, Lisa organized what remained of her medical supplies. Most were used up from treating both human injuries and android damage. She had started the day with enough medical supplies for emergency human care. She ended it by changing the fundamental programming of an entire android army. The repaired android watched her work with obvious interest. Its optical sensors tracked her movements while internal systems processed the implications of what had happened. Where once its programming had focused on target elimination, now it was calculating cooperation benefits. Jake sat down beside Lisa as she worked. I owe you an apology. When I saw you packing medical supplies, I thought you were scared of fighting. I was wrong. I am scared of fighting, Lisa said simply. But I'm more scared of losing good people for bad reasons. These android warriors aren't evil. They're just following programming that told them we were threats. Sam joined the conversation. So what happens now? Do we just stop training for war? Before Lisa could answer, Commander Zethkar's voice came through the room's speakers. All cadets remain in position. Academy leadership is conducting an immediate review of training protocols. Amy looked worried. Are we in trouble? Did we break some kind of rule? Lisa stood up, her medkit properly packed and ready. Maybe, but sometimes breaking rules is the only way to find better ones. The door to the training room opened and several high-ranking officers entered. They represented different alien species from across the Galactic Alliance. Their faces showed mixtures of confusion, curiosity, and concern. General Harrison, the human commanding officer of the Academy, approached Lisa directly. Cadet Carter, your actions today were completely outside established protocol. Yes, sir, Lisa replied, standing at attention. They were also completely successful, the general continued. 0 casualties, mission objectives achieved, and former enemies converted into allies. The question is whether this was luck or something we can teach to other cadets. The lead Krillian android spoke through the room's translation system. The healing warrior demonstrated logic superior to combat protocols. Her actions created new possibilities for mission completion through cooperation rather than destruction. Another android added its analysis. Human behavior patterns exceeded programmed expectations. Hostility protocols became inefficient when targets provided assistance instead of resistance. General Harrison looked around the room at the mixed group of humans and androids. Cadet Carter, do you believe your approach would work in real combat situations? Lisa thought carefully before answering. I think it would work with any opponent who fights for logical reasons rather than pure destruction. Most conflicts happen because both sides see each other as threats. If you can prove you're not a threat, and maybe even helpful, intelligent opponents might choose cooperation over conflict. The general nodded slowly. The Academy will be conducting extensive research into your methods. If they prove reliable, we may need to completely restructure our training programs. Jake stepped forward. Sir, if I may speak freely, what Lisa did today saved all our lives and completed the mission perfectly. Maybe it's time we stopped training just warriors and started training diplomats who can fight if necessary. The alien officers exchanged glances. This was a concept that could change everything about how galactic conflicts were handled. As the debriefing continued, Lisa realized that her decision to carry a medkit into battle had done more than save lives. It had started a revolution in military thinking that might prevent wars instead of just winning them. The androids around her stood as proof that sometimes the most powerful weapon was the willingness to heal instead of harm.